The question now before us, why was Jesus Christ crucified? You may take it for granted that he was, because of the events that happened at the time, at Passover time. But ask yourself the question from the point of view of the Jews, of the Israel, of the law of Moses, that Jesus Christ gave to Moses, a man worthy of death, woman, especially is to be stoned to death, first one, or hang on the tree, or by the sword, or burned in the fire, just like the daughter of the high priest when she messes up sexually. So why was Christ crucified? That does not make sense, because Jews don't crucify. Romans crucified. So why was he crucified? So you have to have the background to understand that. Because Jesus Christ was saying in John 3 and verses 14 and 15 and 16 leads to 16. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be. So he's deviating from the norm, the manner of execution. Either stoning, burning, or the sword, but not crucifixion. So why was he crucified? Well, Moses lifted up the serpent. It was a purpose that was pointing toward the time when Jesus Christ himself will be lifted up. So that Christ that was going through the crucifixion, the purpose for it, so that whoever believes in him, he should not perish. And then he goes on to tell you the reason. God so loved the world that does not want any to perish, but have eternal life through his Son. He follows him, he believes in him, obeys his law. That's the purpose of God. But why crucifixion? Well, you have to go to the background from the beginning of the story. In Genesis 3, where the serpent enters into the Garden of Eden by permission from God. Without permission, he can do nothing. Not up to him. Especially when it's concerned, the plan of God. God is very jealous God. Every detail has to be worked according to his will. So, who is the serpent? In Revelation chapter 20, we read about the identity of the serpent. That at the end time, right now, coming, a mighty angel will come down and bind the devil. This devil, that old serpent, that was the identity of the devil. That was the identity of the serpent. He will bind him for 1,000 years in his demons. So you see the link between the serpent and the devil. But still, the question is, why? Satan doesn't do things on his own. Who is responsible for him to deceive Mother Eve and then Adam? Adam, in a sense, was not deceived. He just went along with it. But God had to give him the permission to enter into the Garden of Eden to do his will, not the will of the devil. And the devil was responsible also for his deeds. And man was also responsible for giving in to him. But God is always in charge. You read in the book of Job chapter 1, later on, story of Job, beginning with the conference in heaven where the devil comes to God in his presence. God is not afraid of the demons, Satan, entering and coming to his presence. He's always in charge of everyone, everything. It's holy angels and demons. They cannot do anything on their own. There is no competition there between God and devil, demons. And he tells him, he's asking the devil, where did he come from? Have you seen my faithful servant Job? That there is no man like him in all the earth. Devout, serves God, he does his will. Well, the devil answers, well, he does it because it's advantageous to him to do it, because you bless him. But if you take the blessings from him away, he'll curse you. And so God is always in charge. He gives the permission to the devil to strike the flesh and the property and his children with afflictions of all sorts. Put them to death, in essence, sons of Job, and afflict the flesh of Job. And all that the purpose of God will be accomplished. In everything that happens on this earth, God is always in it. Nothing happens without his permission, his allowance. And that's the story here again. The reason why Jesus Christ said that he himself had to ascend up to the cross, he said there was a precedence that happened in the wilderness, which we'll go to it right now. In Deuteronomy, in the book of Numbers, we read that account. The children of Israel were rebelling against God, speaking evil of him. And he sends fiery serpents against them. And they were biting. They beat them, and they were dying. Many of them. So they cried to God. They cried to Moses. And so at that point, God told him to take a pole and hang on top of it a brass serpent. And if they are willing to look up to the serpent, they will live. In other words, the purpose of the crucifixion was always the same. It was always there. They have to look up to the serpent. Well, who is the serpent? The devil. But Jesus Christ took the role of the devil, all the sins of man that he took on himself, in essence, might say, made him play the role of the devil. He became the guilty one. Every sin that we have committed, humanity has committed, was upon him. And he was telling you that through the sacrifices. All the sacrifices pointed to Jesus Christ, and also to the people that were responsible for the sin. So you begin to understand why was Jesus crucified, and why were the Romans involved in it. The Romans didn't want to crucify Jesus Christ. They say he's an innocent man. Pilate was trying his best to let him loose. He said, the man is innocent. I cannot crucify him. But God wanted it to be that way. Just like Moses raised the serpent, Jesus fed in the wilderness, and they had to look to him and to look up to him in order to be delivered from the death that was afflicting them. So it would be for all humanity. And all of humanity will have to be involved, because all of humanity have sinned. Not only Jews, not only Israel, but every single person alive, that was alive, that will be alive. All sinned and must all All, as the Apostle Paul said, all men have sinned and come short of the glory. Nobody is immune from that. Nobody is immune from the deception of the devil. That's why we have so many religions, so many deceptions, so many demons upon this earth affecting our lives. That's why we have the violence and the bloodshed and the insane behavior of men. The devil and his demons are in that, just like they were from the Garden of Eden, creating the deception in the heart of man and in Mother Eve. And they went through all the generations of men and did the same. So every man was guilty. Every man deserved death. And the only salvation they have when they look up Jesus Christ that was lifted on the cross. Being innocent, but he took on himself all the guilt of men.